It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationship with the University of Miami.
Patton, another good block, and Toretto lays it out. Touchdown, Miami.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
Good evening, Mr. Thomas.
Woo! Gary.
Yeah, I know. And we welcome everybody once again to a new week of the Lamar Thomas Show, presented, as always, by CaneSport. And let's get that banner going on the bottom of the screen because it is holiday shopping season. And if you want to load up on Canes gear, and you still do, even though, you know, we had a disappointing end to the season, you still want to, you know, it's 10-2 was not a bad season, and you still want to, you know, brandish your Miami gear for the rest of the year and going into 2025. CaneSport is your spot, and they have a little bit of everything there, and I encourage you to make them your ultimate destination for all of your holiday shopping needs. We'll talk a little bit more about CaneSport later in the show, but LT, we have so much to unwrap on the Lamar Thomas Show tonight. We got the Syracuse game and all the drama and different elements that came with that. We have the College Football Playoff Committee and what they did last night, not to Miami's benefit, of course. And then we've got signing day today, which you know, came with a lot of excitement and drama of its own that we could talk about a little bit, and just how things have changed through the last several years in recruiting and how it's become very different for the coaches. And so let's start with the Syracuse game. And, you know, you go up there, everything's on the line. You have a chance to qualify for the ACC championship game. You have a chance to put yourself in position to be in the college football playoff, really probably regardless of what happens in the ACC championship game. And you jump out to a 21-0 lead and somehow find a way to lose that football game. Let's talk about it just generically at first, and then we'll get into some of the subplots. Your thoughts when 7:30 on Saturday night hit, and the reality was that Miami had really blown its best opportunity to compete at the highest level in college football, certainly since 2017. But I thought this team was better positioned even than that one to compete here in the postseason. Doesn't look like they're going to get a chance.
Well, I can tell you this, Gary. You go up there with an opportunity with everything on the line, and you go up 21-0. And you couldn't tell me at that point that I wasn't booking my ticket to Charlotte. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. Shit starts coming unraveled. And like you said, around 7:30, it's disappointment. Man, that had to be for all of us Canes fans, a very disappointing game. Obviously, Syracuse came out just like Georgia Tech and just like many other teams this year, gave us everything they had. And you got to give them credit. They played a hell of a game. They had a game plan, and they stuck with it. They saw some of our deficiencies throughout the year, and they went at it. And, you know, they decided at some point, we're not going to drop all the way back. We're going to quick game this thing, and we're going to get that ball out of his hands. We're not going to allow him to get sacked, and we're going to throw the ball down the field. And then when it counts the most, we're going to run it down your throat. You know, and on offense, you know, everything was rolling. Everything was going well. Would have loved to see the run game featured a lot more. But that's hard, man. That's hard. That's extremely hard, Gary. In today's, I wouldn't even say today's, because it's happened before. When you have a quarterback that is on the Heisman trophy list, you have to show why. You have a coordinator and coordinators this is what they do. They put up numbers. And there was an opportunity that he saw when you're up 21-0, hey, we're going to keep doing what we do. But, you know, coordinator using his numbers to maybe get a job, and I don't blame him. I truly don't blame him, because that's what they do. That's what, you know, he doesn't want to be a coordinator forever. I don't blame him. Hell. But at some point, we got away from the true game plan, which was trying to win this game at all costs, I believe. I mean, you tell me that things were going to unfold the way they did. I think in that little lull, the game was lost. When they was 21-7, 21-14, 21-21, I think that's when the game was truly lost for us. I know at the end there was fumble or a penalty, but I think in that little lull in between where we didn't move the ball, that's where the game was truly lost. And I think it gave Syracuse, as we talked about, you give a team some life that is ready to lay it down. You give them some life. Big Mo jumps up in the building, and as we talked about last week, in that place is loud, and those people came out, and they were shocked. And then all of a sudden they started coming back. You can't turn them off. You cannot turn them off. Hell, I've been there. Close game. It's deafening. And they are up on you. The fans, the fans are right here. I mean, it is a tight sideline. There's so many things that can go wrong, that went wrong, and very disappointed because this was such a great season. You know, to have this quarterback come to the University of Miami and bless us with the opportunity to showcase his talents. What a great year, 10-2. You know, obviously you're just disappointed because it's right there it's right there. But in the totality of the whole thing, it was when have we won 10 games? And it was an exciting year. The games were exciting. Sometimes a little too close for comfort, but the games were exciting. And man, it's just disappointing that we had it right there for the taking and we fell short.
All right, so I agree with everything you said, but I got to ask you. So you come out in the first quarter, Cam Ward throws for 150 yards in the first quarter. You go right through them for 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
And we're saying it was a mistake to not run the ball in the second quarter. And, my question is, was it a mistake to not run the ball in the second quarter? Or was it a mistake, even though they had success, to not be running the ball a lot more in the first quarter? Maybe you could have scored the same 21 points. Maybe you could have established a little bit of a different style. But who would turn down a 21-0 advantage in a football game, Lamar? So, no matter what you say, really, there's a counter to it.
Yeah.
And but the one thing that I could say definitively is they got suckered. They got suckered into a shootout. And that, at the end of the day, was probably not to their advantage.
Well, I can tell you this. I came to this ale house where I am doing the show tonight, and I saw Rondé Gasson Sr. on Monday night. The first thing out of his mouth was, thank God you guys decided to get in a shootout with us. And he said some game early this year where a team that I had never, some small school rushed for damn near 256 yards, ran it down their throat. You can't, and he said, you can't get in a shootout with us. This is what we're built for. This is all we have. And you guys tried to do it, and it didn't work out. So it's just a very disappointing. So much promise getting to the ACC championship. We haven't been there in a long time. This was obviously an opportunity. But I can say this. On the positive side of it, we got back to national prominence, relevancy. We were in the public eye, the national eye for a long time this season. We haven't been there in a long time. And, 10-2, this is still a building. Obviously we would have loved to with this quarterback and this team. Didn't work out, but it's still a building in process. And, we still have a ways to go. So, and we see that now. We still have a ways to go.
Yeah, so now we have a deflated fan base. I'm sure you're deflated.
Yeah.
I know it was very deflating for me. And I get to see how upset everybody is. And, it's painful, man. It's like everybody was really built up for a great ending to this season. And it's like somebody just went boom and popped the balloon.
Yep.
So let's get somebody in the house here who's always happy and always excited. And that's our main man, IC. IC, how you feeling tonight? Oh, you've had a long day, man. IC's been covering recruiting all day. He's been all over town. But just how you feeling about things, IC?
My dad used to tell me, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And that's how I feel about this, man. It's like, how can you be mad at this? It's like Miami had the chance to punch their ticket to the ACC championship twice. You lose to Georgia Tech. You have it all on the line against Syracuse. You lose that game. It's just, I don't know. And even watching the playoff reveal yesterday, it was during the basketball game. I was just like, it's just disappointing to see it. You know what's going to happen. It's just like something that you know is bad is going to happen, and it actually happens. It's just like, you had the opportunity to get there. It was right in front of you, then just poof. But, that game itself was just crazy. And, I wrote in some of my takeaways, that sound like a broken record, but in the second quarter, they just forget how to play football. It's just like you go up 21-0. You scored in the second quarter because the drive started in the first quarter. But after that, the next three possessions, punt, you take a knee. They scored 2 touchdowns. It's just like, what's happening? This has been a trend dating back to the Cal game. You start hot and then just poof, and then you put yourself in that situation. So this is kind of the same thing that we've been seeing all year, and kind of led to this result where everybody's disappointed and they're going to miss the playoff.
All right, LT, we're going to lean on you, man. You're the guy. You played the game. You've coached the game. You know this game inside and out. How do teams how do you go from being unstoppable in the first quarter to being unable to do anything in the second quarter and losing all that momentum and everything, and then finding yourself in a shootout? Like, how does that happen? We're watching the first quarter. We're thinking, man, this is going to be an absolute blowout. Like, we are way better than this team. How do these things ebb and flow over the course of a football game?
Well, one, being on the road, that is that's a hard one on the road, because if you allow them, especially in a hostile environment like that, where it's closed quarters, that dome is built to be loud, and you allow them to be loud, they're going to be louder than loud. And that big momentum, man, once it goes away and that team starts doing some things that you're not sure of, you start dialing back a little bit maybe, because you see it coming. And at that point, man, it's just like, whether it's me being at Kentucky, going on the road, playing Alabama or Georgia and having a lead, and it's coming and it's there, and it's that moment where you can't stop it, or me being at Louisville and we're playing Kentucky and it's right there. It's right there for the taking. I mean, it happens. Whether it's Hampton University or Boynton Beach High School, it happens. And it's tough to overcome, especially when you come from 21 points down. All of a sudden it's 21-21. I said, this ain't good. This ain't good. This is not good. And we tried to stay in there. We tried to hang in there. But, it's almost like something bad is going to happen. And you're hoping that it happens for them. And it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, you're down. Now you're stressing. Now those decisions, those tough decisions, now are magnified, whether you kick a field goal or not. They're magnified, whether you go for it or not. They're magnified. And every decision that you make will be talked about, whether you get it right or you get it wrong. That's where it's a tough deal, man. In coaching, you have those decisions that are right in front of you, and you have that split second, whether it's you have the guys around you trust or you're making that decision yourself. At the end of the day, it doesn't fall on any of those other guys. It falls on you, because this is what your shoulders, you take. You're the man. You're the head coach. It falls upon you. And I know Mario. I went down there today and got to see him. He's hurting, man. He's hurting. I mean, he understands that this is right there, and then you get another slap in the face after the game. The decision. I mean, you ask yourself, what have we done? What we finally get a team, and we get this great quarterback, and we can't get over that little hump. But I've been trying to tell myself all day, we won 10 games. 10 games. When have we won 10 games? It's been a while. And it was an enjoyable season, a little stressful, but it was an enjoyable season. And obviously we could be in Florida State's category, 2-10. We could be in Florida with all this false ass enthusiasm. UL.
They are manufacturing that.
Oh yeah, the fact that you still got your ass beat early in the season, and it was this season. Okay. We could be in UCF or USF. All these teams that around here that it wasn't a good season for them. We had the best season, but it just wasn't good enough. Now it gives you something to build upon, and you see what your deficiencies are, and you build upon those, and you try to get them better.
All right, let me ask you a question. Let's take this in this direction for a minute. Okay, you mentioned Cam Ward. You mentioned maybe the over-reliance on the passing game. You mentioned Shannon Dawson clearly looking to parlay this season into a head coaching job if he can. I don't know that he's going to be able to, but if you're him and his agent, that's your agenda. And why wouldn't it be? Okay.
Why wouldn't it be?
So you have all these forces. Okay. Now, I think back to really, and you played during this period, the Miami Dolphins time with Dan Marino, and how everything was about Dan Marino and putting up the thousands of yards of passing. And, he was, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play pro football year after year after year. But the Dolphins never won anything playing that style of football. And, they never had the right defense. Miami didn't really have the right defense this year. There were times where even as great as their offense was, that they weren't able to get it done even on the offensive side of the ball. So as it pertains to what we saw here at the end of the season, maybe the pursuit of some of those flamboyant, exciting numbers and things and stats. I mean, number one offense in America, they got that. Maybe the pursuit of those things polluted the minds, polluted the atmosphere. I'm not sure what the right word is. Clouded the judgments that maybe could have been made along the way that would have made victory more probable.
Offense obviously puts people in the seats. It's why people wanted to watch us. They wanted to see this offensive show. There've been many teams that have fallen short. You think about the greatest show on turf. They fell short. And, you couldn't tell me Kurt Warner and those guys, man, they put up ungodly numbers. But they, fell short at one point. It's you brought up Marino. It was a joy to play alongside of him. We had, I never thought we would lose when he was in the huddle. I don't care how many points we were down or up by. I just never thought we could lose. But, obviously there are three phases to the game. And you have to make sure those three phases are taken care of. And, I love our coordinators. I love what they were able to do this year. I've talked about Guidry being able to make the proper adjustments. He got stops when he had to. I think, what are we, the 24th ranked defense in the nation? It seems like people put up numbers on us, but, stats say we're the 24th best defense. So, unfortunately.
How do you explain that? I mean, everybody plays Ball State, right? I see everybody plays Ball State at FAMU. I mean, they still got the stats to be number 24 in the country on defense.
I look at some games where you take out Wake Forest, for example. Second half, we were lights out on defense, right? It seemed like we were getting sacks, we were getting turnovers. That's the reason why he made the proper adjustments when he had to, due to limitations. I mean, let's talk about the D-line. We spent money on getting that D-line, and we maybe not have spent enough on the back end. I don't know, because a Lance Guidry defense is a back end based defense where those safeties are making calls and I don't think he had the depth this year to do that. He had to play freshman. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just going by what I saw, and I know this.
He had one safety that he count on, and that guy's slow.
You put a freshman back there where he has to make calls. You can put him at corner, but you can't put him at safety. Not in a defense that's back end like that. It just, man, because that's not the same defense. We praised him for the defensive adjustments he made the year before when we didn't have D linemen. We went to the 3-3. I think it was something like that, the stack, 3-3 stack. And he was able to work smoke and mirrors. And then this year, when he had to, the majority of the time, he was able to make the proper adjustments to get those stops. But the two times, I can't even say Georgia Tech because they ran the ball, they did a lot of things. But when they had to, we got the stop and we turned it over to the offense to make the drive, and we failed. This game was different. Syracuse, through the help of a lot of other teams probably, had our number. They understood that, hey, man, the 50-50 balls aren't 50-50 balls when you have guys that are meant to play inside that are playing outside from necessity, okay? And you got basketball players out there going against guys that are shorter. I mean, hell, it was a great game plan. Hey, you give a guy a move, you either run a slant or you run a go, whether he's inside or outside. And we're going to throw it up to you, and you're either going to get a pass interference or you're going to get a catch. And if you don't catch it this time, we're going to come back to you eventually. We're just going to trade the guy and put another guy out there. I mean, it is what it is, man. It was I'm disappointed, guys. The disappointment in my voice. I know you see it. I know you hear it. I mean, because obviously I love my school. I bleed on in green, but it was just very disappointing because I really thought that we will be able to, especially being up 21-0, pull this thing through and go to Charlotte. And then to watch yesterday, I can't even speak on it because I'm so mad. Man.
All right, let's put ourselves in Mario Cristobal's shoes for a minute. Okay. Now, when Mario's been in big games, poor IC is so tired, Lamar. He's been grinding since 7 o'clock this morning. All right, so let's put ourselves in Mario Cristobal's shoes. When he's had the greatest success in his coaching career, it has been when he's been in big games and he knows to run the football. I watched him take his Oregon team into Ohio State a couple years ago, and he beat Ohio State in Columbus by beating the crap out of them physically and running the football. That's Mario's thing. Like, that is his style. Mario did not dictate that to happen on Saturday, and that is what surprised me the most, that he didn't do that. Now, when you're the head coach and you've got an offense with a quarterback like Cam Ward that's in the Heisman race, they've been throwing the ball all over the sandlot the whole year. You got the number one offense in America. You got an offense coordinator that has been doing a pretty good job coordinating that. Some head coaches don't give a damn. Okay, some head coaches always want to impose their will. I'm not sure Mario Cristobal imposed his will enough. It's funny because people coming into the season were saying, Mario, don't touch the offense, don't meddle in the offense, stay away from the offense. And the offense was great, number one in the country. But what do you have to show for it if you don't win? If you don't win the prize, if you're not playing for the championship, you don't have anything to show for all those stats. To me, that's one of my greater surprises here at the end of the year was that he did not, with the stable of running backs that they have, with the offensive line that they have, that he did not impose his will in that situation that might have made it more probable that they win the game.
Yeah, Gary, that sounds great. That sounds great and dandy.
Yeah, on the side of the screen, I know.
But Mad Rapper brought up a great point. Ryan Day tried that shit and it didn't work. I mean, hell, you would say, Ryan Day, please don't run in between the tackles. You're trying to impose your will, but guess what? It ain't working today. Man, it just
you can't win sometimes.
We can all sit here and be armchair head coaches, coordinators, but we don't understand or know the stress that comes along with making these calls and making this game plan and all that other shit that comes along with it, and then have to turn around and try to keep recruits after the disappointment of a decision.
That was the best thing, I think, for Mario this week.
Yeah,
that he didn't have time to be depressed, that he had to jump right into what he is his calling card, and that is finishing off this recruiting class. And there were some tense moments this week. It was a crazy week in a lot of different ways. And but that was probably kind of like a little bit of like a medicine for the head coach to not have time to lick his wounds, not have time to feel down. And tonight might be a tough night for Mario. Now that this recruiting class is in, you might find him tossing and turning a little bit, replaying Saturday a lot, but he didn't really have time to do that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday because they had to finish off recruiting.
And on top of that, the negative recruiting was out from other schools. So you're trying to lick your own wounds, and you know they're opening because the other teams are throwing salt in those wounds, alcohol, razor blades, all kind of stuff. I mean, it is tough to be a coach nowadays. And I know someone says $8 million. I get it, and that's what comes along with it. But
they all get paid now.
We all get paid, and it's hard, man. When you can't, it's right there, and it don't matter how much money you're getting paid, because it's time that you spend away from your family and your friends. And I mean, because hell, you don't even know what day it is sometimes, except from your practice schedule. You don't know, you can't remember your kids' birthdays because you got shit to do. There's so much that goes into it, and you say the $8 million, I get it. But at the end of the day, until he sees his paycheck or the shit shows up on his phone, he ain't thinking paycheck.
He don't even see a paycheck. The money gets direct deposited, and he doesn't even have time to look at it. Probably, I'm sure Mrs. Cristobal looks at it from time to time, but he doesn't even have time for that. I see you are the closest one on this show to Cam Ward's age, and what would Cam Ward's reaction have been if somebody tried to rein him in a little bit and he wasn't out there getting to do Cam Ward things, even though it might have been in the better interest of winning some of the games? What do you think Cam Ward's reaction might have been?
I think he'd be all for it, honestly. I mean, he showed that this year he doesn't care about these awards. He doesn't care about, when Matt asked him about the Senior Bowl, I thought that was hilarious. He was like, I don't care. I'm just trying to win. So, I mean, I wanted to kind of comment on that when you mentioned, Mario Cristobal being known for being that power running guy, establishing the line of scrimmage. And then this year you see, the number one offense in the country, airing it out, you're throwing the ball, 30, 40 times a game. So I really do think, if you told, hey, Cam, we need to run the ball to win this game. Sorry, your stats are going to take a hit. I don't think he minds. And, personally, I think that should have been the game plan, but it's so easy to be a coach from the couch. I mean,
a Wednesday night quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is much easier said than done. But, I really do. I mean, I really did hope that Miami, utilize the run game a little bit in that game. But at the end of the day, you're in a shootout with a really good team. And, at the point where you realize, hey, we have to run the ball. Now you're going to have to play catch up. And, you don't want to do that and get those things. But I do think Cam would have been fine with, saying, hey, let's just ground and pound this thing. Obviously, that wasn't the case. We saw what happened at the end of that game where they were forced to throw the ball, had some success doing it, but defense could have stopped a nosebleed. And, we all saw how that ended. But I don't think Cam would have been opposed to, losing a little bit of his stats for a win at the end of the day to punch your ticket to the ACC championship.
All right, so let me ask you guys this. A 35-7 run beginning in the second quarter after Miami jumps out to a 21-0 lead. Lamar, that's like 2 football games. What? How the hell did that happen? How did they give up a 35-7 run to Syracuse? I didn't even realize it was happening as it was happening. It happened so fast. But then when it was done, I said, "Wow, a 35-7 run! How does that happen?"
Momentum again. It's going fast in that building, man. It is. They're rocking and rolling, and they're screaming and they're yelling, and we're looking at the game like, can we just continue to score? Can we continue to can we keep? Because obviously on defense they found something, and you just knew we couldn't stop them. And so you're asking our offense, who has pretty much carried us throughout the whole year, to continue to do its deal. I've heard Florida fans say, 3 to 4 losses would have been if you guys didn't have Cam. Well, you know what? We paid for him. Shit. And he it was a good return.
And they don't know that anyway.
It's
a whole different style of playing offense. Wouldn't have been the same.
It's just really. I got a Florida fan right now that's really starting to get to me. And this mother, I can't even say it. I'm scared my mom and dad are watching. But anyway, man, it's just you know, Gary, I don't know if you remember when we used to have we used to do some stuff a long time ago, and it was some losing times, and I would be so disappointed. I think one time I was down there in tears. You know, I literally drove back home from Vero Beach without saying a word to my family because it hurt, man. It really hurt because I love my university. I love everything about this year. You know, it was exhilarating. It was hard on the heart. You know, it was kind of crazy at times, but it just brought us back to. I mean, I can look back on shows and see the biggest smile that I've had doing these shows in years, because I was so excited about the potential of what I saw out there, from our team. And unfortunately, I look forward to even seeing what our young guys have to offer in the bowl game, whatever bowl game we go to. And I'm gonna be right there, hopefully on the sideline cheering them on. Because I want to see my team continue to fight, and I think we have changed the culture enough that they will continue to fight. I don't think it'll be what we saw from Florida State, where those guys basically just didn't want to play. I think our guys, those young guys, are trying to. When we have a lot of guys that need to show their work, I think they'll get their opportunity in this bowl game, and we'll see what happens. And if we have to send them packing or keep them. I mean, that's the way college football is today. This is the NFL, semi-pro NFL, because it's you either get the job done or you get the hell on out. And you go somewhere else and you can start over and maybe even make a name for yourself like a lot of these guys did at SMU. A better system for them or whatever the hell happened. It is what it is, guys. You either do what you're paid to do or you get the hell on. That's what college football is, because I guarantee what I saw today all over this country were kids calling and saying, hey, by the way, Oregon just offers $100,000 more. And now you have to make a decision and say, is the kid worth it or not? And kids were playing the money game and saying, hey, somebody else just offered me this. That's why so many signing things were delayed, because everybody was making deals the last minute, because schools were saying, okay, well, especially some of the schools like Oregon, maybe even Alabama, they're coming in and saying, and we were doing the same thing. Everybody was doing it. So today's game has changed. And I don't even see why you have an official visit for 3 days. All you need is 1 day where they come in and meet with the NIL guy and find out what their worth is, and then you either take them to dinner or you put their ass back on the plane.
Yeah, forget about going to Smith and Walensky's on South Beach.
They don't want that shit. All they want to know is how much they worth.
Forget about how much they're going to well, right? I see. They don't need that anymore.
Just take them straight to Bank of America, whoever they bank with.
All right, so obviously you give up a 35-7 run. There's not a lot of defense being played in that stretch of the game.
No.
How does that happen, Lamar? You're the number 24 defense in the country by the stats, and maybe the numbers are lying a little bit, but the numbers are the numbers. The number 24 defense in the country. They have had moments during the year where they played decent defense, as recently as the game before against Wake Forest. Lamar, they looked inept at Syracuse after that first quarter. I mean, absolutely inept. There was nobody covering a receiver. They were so wide open. The DBs were so lost. There was no pressure on the quarterback. How does that happen? How does a defense get so bad? This defense got progressively worse as the year went on, in my opinion. And then in the biggest moment, the penultimate moment of the season, they never looked worse than they did on Saturday. How's that happen?
I don't know, Gary. I just I give Syracuse credit, man. They stuck to their game plan. They threw it around the yard, and we knew they were going to throw the ball around the yard. But they found something on the deep passes, the crossing routes, and they said, we're going to exploit it. And they got the mismatches they wanted, whether in the red zone or outside the red zone, and they kept hammering it home, man. It's just, you got to give Fran his flowers for what he was able to do. I mean, and I do think Gidry's a good coordinator. I saw him make adjustments during the year. Last year just wasn't their night. It hasn't been, sometimes it hasn't been their night. And when you have deficiencies, when you don't have depth, when you have injuries and guys go out that you're maybe accounting on, I know you say, hey, this is why you play the game and all that other stuff, but you're still building. You're still building. And again, when Mario got the job, I remember the conversation I had with him because I've told this story over and over again. Hey, Mario, you're 3 to 4 years away. And he said, why you say that? I said, because you have to build depth. We won championships because of depth. It wasn't the 1s and 2s, remember? It was the 3s and 4s. Because when we put those guys in, there was no fall off. It was like the running backs. There was no fall off. But you don't have that. Did you have that in linebacker? No. Did you have that in secondary? No. Did you have that in D-line? I question. So that's on the defensive side. And
somebody inside the program said to me, we had the best defensive line in the country. And I said, whoa. I'm
sure Florida State thought they did too.
I said, whoa. Think about this. Mesidor's playing out of position. Bain was a shadow of himself from the year before. Tyler Barron disappeared after week 2. Simeon Barrow, he was fairly consistent the whole year, but they didn't have the best defensive line in the country. And, not just what you're talking about, but it also impacts practice because when you have good 3s and 4s and you have that depth up and down the program, your practices are better. And
that's what I was about, Barry. That's what I was about to get to.
Yeah.
You can't even feel a good special teams when you don't have DBs and linebackers. Okay? You can't feel the good special teams. So why did we get a return this year? We don't have the depth. There were guys when I played, there were starters that were on special teams. You can't put your starters on special teams because you don't have anybody to play behind them.
Right.
I mean, I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling it like it is, guys. I mean, we were handcuffed.
And the roster is also very devoid of top end guys too. Like there's not a lot of elite talent still in the program. That's been one of my biggest surprises, how difficult it has become in this new age of college football for Mario Cristobal, one of the best recruiting head coaches in the country, to flex his muscle in that arena. I mean, it's just become a brutal thing, and Miami still doesn't have, there's no, Andre Johnson, there's no Michael Irvin, there's no Ed Reed, there's no Ray Lewis, there's no Warren Sapp, there's no Vince Wilfork. You could go on and on and on and on and on. There's not even close to that type of talent. Yet they won 10 games this year, which kind of shows you what they would be doing if there was that kind of talent. All right, so now LT, not because I don't want to jump all over the place. So now, we talked a little bit about the defense and how they really struggled on Saturday. I really believe they got progressively worse as the year goes on, the Wake Forest game being the exception. But now we have this. Okay, we have Norris Murray and thousands of other Norris Murrays out there that are pointing right at the defensive coordinator. And you have a head coach that is not living in a bubble. There's no dome over Mario Cristobal's world. He's hearing this without question. We don't know what he thinks, but now you know, he has to make a decision. And you know, you could go up and down our chat here and see all these comments. You know, and Lamar, you were a coach. I mean, you know what the business is like. Like, what happens now? What does Mario do? What does Lance Guidry do? How does he move forward when this confidence has been shattered? It's a tough situation.
I mean, you know, I never been one to sit on the show and talk about firing coaches because I've lived that life. And
Of course, you've been there, right?
What people don't understand is that it's not just the coach, or it's not just the coaches. It's the families, it's the kids, it's the, you know, the relationships, and you know, it's a hard deal. You know, we're getting paid money, but it's a hard deal because you know you move from place to place 2, maybe 3 years. You know, then you're moving another place. You're dragging your wife. You're dragging your family around. You're dragging your kids around. And it is a hard life, man. It truly is a hard life. And I know that you're saying, hey, we getting paid this money again. But you know what? Stop worrying about our pockets. We're trying to do the best job we can do, man. You know, you sound like a little broad, man, worrying about the next man's pocket. It is what it is. I mean, do I like Lance Guidry? I do. I do like it. And I want to see him have a full slate of players, his job, the way he best does it. Do I want to see Shannon Dawson come back? Yes, I do. But I also want to see Shannon Dawson achieve his dream, head coach. Because that's all of our dreams at some point. We want to be head coaches. That's why we're doing it. You know? And so it's so easy for you guys to say fire somebody. I mean, when you guys are bagging groceries or whatever the fuck you do, or being a dog sitter or whatever you're doing, you want somebody to talk about firing you? Do you want to be driving to work and all of a sudden listen to the radio and some fan is saying get rid of him and his freaking dogs and all that other stuff? Get rid of you and your dogs and your wife and kids? I mean, that's all part of the game. I understand that. But I really want to see these guys get the best opportunity. Obviously, Shannon Dawson had a great year with a great quarterback. Now let's see him. You know, if he doesn't leave, let's see him with another quarterback. See if he can pull off that magic again and land. Let's see if we can get him some people on the back end to make this thing go in that portal and be able to get some safeties that have experience and speed and or you know, to be able to run that secondary and make those proper calls. Get some corners out there who can stand one-on-one coverage, you know, on that island by themselves. Not saying, and I like Darryl Porter Jr. I think the world of him, you know, in the slot. I think he's a lot, you know, I watched that guy follow number 38 around the whole game at USF. That was a hard deal. That kid was shifty, and he never complained. He went out the game, he came back. I mean, but to put him on the island when he's 5'9", 5'10", against a damn basketball player, when you don't have nobody else, you don't have any. Who else do they have? You tell me, fans. Is it Guidry's fault that people got hurt? I don't know. No, I don't think so. Is it? I mean, it's you guys so quick to fire everybody, man. You know what? I'm happy for Manny Diaz. You guys wanted him fired, he went somewhere else. He won 9 games. Shit, I don't know. I'm happy for him because you wanted him fired. You know, hell, we ain't Ohio State, which is fucking nuts. They're talking about firing Ryan Day. What's his damn record?
Crazy.
Yeah. Man, this is some crazy shit that's going on in today's world about these damn coaches. The turnover is incredible because it's okay. You didn't have a good year, so let's get rid of your ass and screw that the program suffers because now kids have to learn a new system. They have to learn a new coach. You don't care about that. You just want the next man up, and you think that's a Band-Aid to rectify things. So I'm sorry, but you know, hey, you know. Oh yeah, I did want Al going to fire. You're right. I did. You're right about that. Thank you, C-Dub. I wanted that motherfucker fired. You're right. You're right. I do not like Al Golden showers. You're right. But look at him. Look at him. He's found a new life in Notre Dame, and they're in the playoffs. So it is what it is.
I see. What happens now? What do you think?
I'm at Lamar. I don't think you fire him. Like I was talking to people throughout the week after that Syracuse game, my friends, and they're like, "Man, what are you gonna do with the defensive coordinator?" I said, "Get him some players." Like we saw what he did. Like we talked about, I think it was last week's show or 2 weeks ago. When it's a safety-driven defense, and when you don't have safeties that you obviously don't want to bash any of the safeties, but aren't at the same level as the Cam Kitchens or James Williams that are leaders of that team, it's going to be hard. We saw Shannon Dawson last year sometimes. The offense looked atrocious. NC State, what they scored 6 points in a game? Like everyone was fire Shannon Dawson. He's so bad. It's like Gaddis 2.0. You get him, obviously Cam Ward's a huge help.
Hey, that's another coach I wanted fired. You're right. That's 2. So Gaddis, you're right. My bad, C-Dub. You're right.
No worries. But just I feel like jumping to the conclusion of firing him, and then you say fire him. All right, who are you going to bring in? And then you're going to hear crickets. It's just like getting rid of somebody is not always an easy fix. Like someone else said, for the first time having both coordinators back in Miami felt good. Why not have it for a third time? Give these guys a chance. You gave Shannon Dawson a chance. Look what happened. You gave him some weapons. And one thing I do always want to talk about when it comes to coaches, recruiting. Obviously, I know signing day is over with now, but when I talk to kids, the biggest thing that they say is stability. They don't want to go to a program where every 2 years you have a different coordinator, every 2 years somebody else in. So it's just like I get the results weren't what you wanted to see, and you can blame Guidry for all the losses and things like that. At the end of the day, Miami still gave up a 21-point lead. There was other things. Jacoby George got the penalty at the end. Are you going to fire Jacoby George? Like, there's so many different things that factor into this season. I get the defense is a huge part of it, but I just don't think firing Lance Guidry is the solution to fixing all your problems. And then you're going to have to start from zero, once again.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that as well. I just talked about the D-line a minute ago, and, Bain not being Bain, and Barron disappearing after the third game, and Messidor playing out of position, and, Kiko Manoa being the shadow of what he was a year earlier. Wesley Basaint shows up every now and then, no consistency whatsoever. Your cornerbacks are challenged all year. You don't have safeties. You're playing with one safety, really, that you can count on, and he's slow. I'm looking at all the personnel deficiencies that we had on defense unfathomably because, listen, we have had two years now of Mario recruiting, but for whatever reason, they have not been able to stock up the defense the way they've been able to stock up the offense, and there were deficiencies there. And when there's deficiencies like that, it's very difficult to me to place judgment on the coordinator unless he's the guy in charge of recruiting, which he's not. And I didn't feel watching Lance Guidry this entire year that I was watching Lance Guidry coach Lance Guidry defense, and except in the Wake Forest game. And I remember at the press conference, I think I talked about this last week. I asked him, I said, Lance, you were Lance Guidry again the other day. He was dialing up pressure, and he was anticipating plays, and guys were in position, and they were playing a Wake Forest team that abandoned the passing game, so it was easy for him. But I struggle with the whole thing as well, because I don't know how you blame him when the personnel that he's working with was so challenged this year. And that needs to improve very quickly. And that's why the transfer portal is going to be absolutely critical for the Hurricanes. All right, we have a guest that's popped in to the lobby. And he's excited too. He just popped his webcam on for us, and he answered the call to come be on the Lamar Thomas show. So let's bring him in here. I'm going to change the screen a little bit, and that is Syii Tucker, former Canes tight end. And hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How's it going?
Doing good.
Good.
Side, Big Chief.
What's happening? Talk to me.
We obviously we struggled on Saturday. Give us your thoughts.
Okay, well, you know what? This is my thing, man. Now, I understand that, maybe we're young or we need to, upgrade the talent a little bit on defense. but I do think we could have protected him. I think we played just a tad bit too much man coverage. Don't you think we was a man a little bit too much? Let me get your take on that, LT. Don't you think it was a little bit too much man, given
Yeah, well,
we having personnel struggles?
I think it was anything where you're sending your cornerback with the receiver. It don't matter whether it was cover 3 or whatever the hell it was. It wasn't working.
Exactly.
Because all I kept seeing was bombs away.
Yeah.
And shit.
Exactly.
It was like bombs over Baghdad around this motherfucker.
So I'll say this, LT. It didn't look like we made any adjustments. I think that's what people, it's the same when they beat you with the same thing over and over. I think that's what kind of gets people a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Georgia Tech. They kept running them toss sweeps and them jet sweeps. It's the same thing, and it's like we never adjust to it. We never do anything different to stop it. We know what's coming, and they just keep running the same thing. So I think that if you do want to be critical of the coaching, it's the lack of adjustments and just being able to figure out a way to, make them at least do something different. Make them go to plan B, but don't let them keep doing the same thing.
What do you think we could have done, Syii? Drop going prevent?
No, not necessarily, but okay, maybe we could have blitzed a little bit more, to help them out. Blitz maybe.
Now you're really putting them on the island.
No.
Really?
Well, I get that, but at least, I get that, but at least if the blitz can get there, at least take a chance. If maybe the blitz gets there, then they maybe have some help. Maybe have a safety shield over, slide over a little bit. It seemed like they were always in man to man. They wouldn't even get any safety help. I never saw a safety. I rarely saw a safety over there. So
you know what, Syii? You're right about that, because I would have thought that maybe you could go like a 4, cover 4 or 4 cross or anything, not cover 2, because that's kind of a run defense. And they decided we ain't running the ball. We're gonna throw that bit, and they would have hit us right in the holes.
Yeah,
they would have hit us right in the holes. So have 4 cross, but hell, then they probably would have thrown slants on our ass all night.
Oh, how about this, LT? How about we just play 8 men in coverage and just rush 3?
It seemed like we were doing that. Shit.
Well, somebody was doing a lot, but okay, but LT,
they were doing that, but not intentionally.
but LT, but here's how I think we really could have helped ourselves out, and this is my take on it. I went to the Cal game, right, and I saw it was a track meet. They was up and down the field on us, right, and I really thought that the defense would give us one stop. I really did, man. I was a little shocked by that, because I think they scored on 6 out of 7 touchdown drives. I mean, 6 out of 7 drives, they went down and scored.
35-7.
But I think that when you recognize that the defense is like that, I think the adjustment, personally, to me, has to be made on the offense. And I think that means you got to run the ball more. We got to run the ball more. I mean, you know what I mean? I think we should. I mean, we were gashing them, and they had one of the worst ranked run defenses in the country. So I think we should have ran the ball more, maybe even ran some play clock. I know that might have gotten the offense out of the rhythm, but I think our offense is capable of adjusting to a more ball control offense. And I think that's what we should have did. We should have shortened the game and limited their possessions. That's what I would have did. I would have tried to shorten the game once I saw us go up 21-0 and they come back and strike quick. I would have tried to shorten the game, man. I would have started right then shortening the game, trying to limit the amount of possessions they had and play a more ball control. Because our offensive line is massive, man. They were working them guys. I mean, we averaged 5 yards a carry and we ran for 154 yards. So, I mean, we could have easily just ran the ball down their throats, too. That was an option. But I just think that, we didn't come in with a holistic strategy from the standpoint of recognizing that our defense was vulnerable and what could we do on the offensive side of the ball to protect them.
Now, let me ask you this, Syii, because you played with alongside a Heisman Trophy quarterback.
Yes.
Gino Torretta. There were games where we had no choice but to run the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Do you remember those games?
I remember those games.
The Penn State.
Yep.
Where they were dropping 8 in the coverage.
Yep.
And we could not throw the ball, and we did not want to throw the ball. But we had a Heisman Trophy quarterback.
Yeah. But
You know,
let's be honest. At this stage in the season, man, with one game on the line, it's about the team. It ain't about any individual.
Yeah.
It's not about the individual at this point. It's about winning this one game so we can get to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wanted to see Cam win the Heisman more than anybody, but I'd rather see Miami win a national championship or at least get to a playoff more than anything else. That has to be the number one goal, is to win the game. So if he had to throw the ball 15, look at Patrick Mahomes doing these days. He ain't throwing it 40, 30 times a game. He's doing what he got to do to win the game.
But, you know, it was different when Geno won the Heisman. Geno won the Heisman almost by accident. Okay, Geno wasn't like this year. No, seriously, I'm serious. He won almost by accident because
nachos.
You know, he was surrounded by so much talent, and you guys were just winning and winning and winning and winning. And then, oh geez, the end of the year came, and they gave Geno the Heisman. Cam Ward was playing for the Heisman from the first day of this season.
Yeah,
and I just feel like it was a difference, guys. Like it was, you know, and I think you guys are right on about the running game. And it's almost like you can't have both. You can't be playing to win the Heisman and have an offense that's balanced the way it might need to be when you get into the biggest games of the year.
That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah,
I think you got to strategize to win the game first and foremost, and then if we can get numbers for individual players, so be it. But the key got to be winning the game.
They fell into the trap. They absolutely did. This entire season, really, and they had close games in the middle against Cal, Virginia Tech, Duke, you know, Louisville, games that we thought were way too much closer than they should have been. But in reality, they were in the trap probably the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know, Syii, I think we all feel the same way, man. We are so disappointed that a magical year came to an end.
Don't remind me. Now go ahead.
I mean,
obviously,
I was devastated by the Sugar Bowl.
Ooh, man.
But this one hurt too. Because it's right there. And
I know. I tell you why this one hurt too, LT, because I was at the Ohio State game when we lost. That hurt, but you know who was coming off the national championship? We figured we'd be back next year. We had a lot of more first rounders, and you know, but just given the fact it's been a while since we had this spotlight, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to be able to see it, I mean, if we lose in the first round of the playoffs, so be it. But to not even be able to make it when we had such a great year, I mean, that's kind of disappointing.
Frustrating.
And on top of that, wait a minute. And on top of that, they have the haters hating the whole year.
Yeah.
Whenever they come on our message boards and just try to, because we weren't worth the argument. We weren't worth coming on our message board. But you know what? This year, it was almost like, you know, and I told one guy, I hate, you know, I don't know what type of marriage you got, but you probably want your wife, you watch your wife get humped by somebody else because you're watching. All you've been doing is watching us the whole time.
Yeah. What I say, I mean, they love to hate us, man. I mean, that's why we who we are. You know what I'm saying? We're not sitting around watching anybody else. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I'm gonna be watching SMU and Clemson. I know. Now we gotta pray, beg, and pray, and shit. I might be like, oh boy, watch it.
All right, let me take you guys. I'm going to take you guys into a couple dark places here because we're going to go to the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, and I want to start with Miami's driving down 7, and they're driving, and they're inside the 20-yard line, and Jacoby George. I guess they were at the 8. Jacoby George gets a 15-yard personal foul penalty at that moment and totally derails the drive. The ball goes back to the 23. They never recovered. Shannon Dawson didn't have the right calls ready for that moment. Why would he? Like, you're down at the 8-yard line. You think, and they ran a couple bad plays. I'm going to get to the 4th down in a minute. But Mario went out on the neck to bring Jacoby George back. Jacoby George has been doing this nonsense his whole career at Miami. He's got more personal foul penalties than Lamar Thomas. Okay, LT, how many did you have in your career? I'm trying to remember if you ever got any.
I had one against Arizona where I punched a guy if they got an interception. And let's see, any more? Oh yeah, I had one against Nebraska where I grabbed a DB's face mask because he was about to get an interception. But as a coach, that kid, man, he's
done that at least 10 times, at least.
Yeah, he was. Last year was not a good year for him as far as the penalties. This year, he was right on the cusp. He had some plays that might have been called penalties, but he got away with it. He's an emotional guy.
Yeah.
He's a truly emotional kid, and unfortunately for him, everything that he's done, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, I can say my whole career might have been to people that didn't watch the whole thing, surmised in one play, getting stripped from behind. Will Restrepo be remembered for a fumble after everything he did? Will Kobe George be, a dumb penalty? I mean, unfortunately, in today's age, we're remembered by your last.
Yeah.
Your last.
All right, but
I'll say this. I thought he did have a good game. I mean, what did he have? Like, how many catches did he had? He had a good game other than that mistake, didn't he? What was his numbers? He had at least 6 catches, right?
He had 4 catches for 100 yards in the first quarter. And I think LT, you brought it up. Gary brought it up. He was having a great season. I literally was give Jacoby George his flowers. I had a whole thing about it saying he's been, great this year. And then he does a headbutt, and I just hit backspace on it. I'm just like,
yeah.
All you're gonna remember.
Yeah, he had a bad moment, but didn't we have a drop pass on that drive too? I mean, it
drop pass.
We had a drop pass on that drive too.
It just all went haywire. It's hard to be in that building with everything going on when it's something you're not used to. And I know fans, you're like, hey, that's part of the game, and yes, it is. But man, you drop a pass, they get louder.
Yeah.
It's we've all been there.
I'll say this. I think the offense pressed, man, because they know realistically we're not getting no stop. So if we don't make it happen, that's a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying? So they're pressing. The offense was pressing a lot. I think, Restrepo, he was pressing a little bit. That's probably why he got, stripped a little bit. So they were
trying to make a play.
Great, man.
Trying to make a play.
They're all trying to make a play. They're under enormous pressure because they know if they get his ball back, that's it. So the kid made a bad mistake, but I think overall he had a great game. And
great.
I'm not going to pin the game on that one play. I mean,
he had 6 catches, 121 yards for the season. He had 51 catches, 728 yards.
Yeah,
which is a decent year. But in the biggest moment of the season, he destroyed his team.
But I ask you this: how many other things happened on that drive? You can question whether or not we should have went for the field goal. You can talk about the drop pass.
Well, I'm getting ready to get to that one.
It's a parade of horribles, if you will. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, but I mean you're right. I mean, and I'm not trying to excuse it in any way, but
you're forgiving him. You're forgiving him, Syii.
We shouldn't have never been in that position, man.
But you're forgiving him. I'm not forgiving him.
It was a bad mistake, but I don't believe that a game is usually decided by one play or one mistake.
Hey, Gary. Hey, there are people who ain't forgave me for the Sugar Bowl, and I get it. It is what it is. Shit,
but I don't know. Come on, LT. That was not we didn't lose the Sugar Bowl because of that play.
Well, hey, hold on now. There's a lot of people who come up to me today, man. Hey, man, you just scored that touchdown, we would have won.
Nah, I mean, let's be honest. It's a 60-minute game, man. There's a lot of things happening.
It is what it is.
I mean, you could argue the penalty when the guy broke for 60 yards and the guy got called back. I mean, what about that? You know what I mean? So,
and what about that? What about that call? What about that call?
Exactly. That was a 60-yard run. And then that gets called back, So you can never really just point to, that's what I'm saying, one play, and say that the game came down to. I mean, I just hate to put the game all on one play. You know what I mean?
I'm tougher than you guys, man. I thought that was unforgivable. I think that moment destroyed everything he did as a Miami Hurricane. I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody will remember him for any positive plays he made, and he made a lot of them. He's a very good receiver. I think he will be known as the guy that got the personal foul calls and derailed a potential ACC championship situation by hurting the offense at the most critical point of the game. They would have scored. They would have scored and tied the game if that penalty didn't happen. I will never believe anything else.
Yeah.
And
you're probably right. You're probably right. He was a bad choice. He made a bad play.
He burned his head coach, who stuck his neck out for him. And let him come back, because they weren't going to let him come back. There was a lot of talk after last year. He had to go, and they gave into that, and they let him come back.
Yeah. But, I mean, just looking at his numbers, he had a good season. Go ahead, LT.
But, Gary, he had a pretty damn good season. He came back. He put up some, he made some hell of a catches for us. It's just unfortunate, man. I feel bad I know it was a dumb play, but I still feel bad for him because –
me too.
I feel like I kind of let him down, because I went to every game except Cal in this game, and every game before I grab him and I say, play smart.
You did, LT.
Play smart.
And he, I think, had a penalty. I can't remember. It might have been the Gator game. It was one of the early games in the year, and you did go talk to him. You had a long talk with him about this exact subject, and it just didn't work. All right, so let's now switch to the field goal decision. So now that happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're back at the 23. The offense couldn't come up with enough to score in that situation. They got 4th and goal from the 10. They look at the analytics sheet, which I hate analytics, but in this case it was justified. And it tells them that they have a very small percentage of converting that 4th down play. Mario, in my opinion, made the right decision to kick the field goal. And I know a lot of people think I'm wrong and have different opinions. But even if you go for it and you don't get it, you're still down. Even if you score a touchdown, they get the ball back, and all they need is a field goal to win. And you saw the way it played out. Like, they probably would have gotten their field goal or whatever, and they probably would have lost the game anyway. You give your defense a chance to make a stop. And you're saying, get me one stop. They did it against Virginia Tech. They did it against Cal. They did it against Georgia Tech. There were many moments this year where the defense did get that stop. They got it a lot of times in the Gator game. But I don't think a head coach can be standing on the sideline saying, my defense sucks. They can't stop anybody, and start letting that impact the decisions they make in a game. Your guys' thoughts?
You have to realize that the defense is struggling. I got to do something different. You really have to. That's a part of coaching. It's recognizing where your team is vulnerable and trying to protect them.
Oh, man.
I'm just being honest. Like, think about it. If you got a guard out there who can't guard anybody on the basketball court, they try to cover them up. They try to play a zone. They do whatever they got to do. But they don't leave them out there on an island. And so, and at the end of the day, I think this. Now, just play this one back. Just imagine if we score, then that puts pressure on Syracuse. 100%. Because they have to think in the back of their mind, if we don't score this time, Miami's going to get the ball back, and it's a wrap. But at least they get the ball back up 4. They're playing with a little bit more confidence. That's just a thought.
But Coach Tucker, what if that analytics sheet is telling you got a 20% chance of being successful on that play?
Now, what yard line were we on? Like the 9?
The 10.
Oh man, I gotta trust that we can make that play with the talent we got. I think we can get 10 yards on a 4th and 10. I was at the Cal game, man. Trust me, we came back 21 points in 1 quarter. So I think we're good for 10 yards on 4th and 10. If it was 4th and 15, maybe I get it. But 10 yards, I think we could have dialed up something that got us. But I'm not going to even say that caught. I mean, I'm not going to blame the game on that. But I do think that was because they think about it. If we don't score, where are they going to start at? On the 10-yard line. But instead, they start on the 25. So that's the difference.
See, Coach Tucker, Jake says if Shannon goes for that touchdown and chokes, people are going to call for his ass.
Nah, I think everybody would have been okay with him going for it because, like I said, LT, if we don't score, they got to start that next drive on the 10. But instead, we kick a field goal and they started on the 25.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. You'll need to stop regardless. And, like you mentioned, being tied and being up by 4, I feel like the defense, you have that momentum. You have that, okay, we get this out, we can win the game. I feel like that's just two different mindsets, when you're playing. And like I said earlier in the show, it's easy to coach from the couch, but I'm going for it. You got, the Heisman or whatever.
Yes.
And Cam, I'm putting the ball in his hands over, Andy Borgales. No offense to him, but I'm letting him try to make a play to tie the game up and completely swing that momentum because you kick that field goal. Obviously, they're still in it, but I feel like a tie ball game, your defense is feeling it and all that stuff. But that's
let me ask you this. As a head coach, when you've been criticized for another loss you had for not kicking the damn field goals, does that play in your head a little bit? Because I saw this play out a couple of times with Manny Diaz on some stuff that happened where he was trying to take the ball out of a quarterback's hand and it backfired, and then he reversed it and it backfired again. I mean, it's like, what do you do? Like, do you play the odds, or do you go on your gut feeling, or do you do what the fans want you to do? Because, again, the fans are going to be the one that, when the shit fails, going to get rid of your ass anyway.
So with that one, I feel like those are two different situations because those field goals were early in the game. They were, they weren't as big as a situation as that one. I feel like those field goals are completely out the picture. I'm focused on we got to tie this ball game up right now. We need some momentum because at that point, Syracuse was rolling. You needed something. You needed a spark. I feel like that field goal let everybody down. As a player, I would have been kind of just like, damn, dude, we really just kick the field goal, put the ball in Cam's hands, let him work some magic. And like, I said, they're going to be backed up on the 10-yard line. They're going to have to, now all the pressure's on in their court. Are we going to be backed up here, or are we going to start from the 25? So I think those Georgia Tech kicks, or whichever ones you may be referring to, different situations. They were early in the game, but I'm still rolling the dice and giving Cam the benefit of the doubt to win this game for my team or put us in a situation to do that.
Yeah. Concur. Yeah, I agree. But again,
y'all just making me so sad, man. I'm sitting at a nice restaurant. TVs everywhere, the heat on, getting blown out. Oh, they blowing out the Lakers.
Oh, they blowing
I got some nachos here and some calamari and some Mountain Dew, and y'all just making me so sad having to relive this shit.
I know.
You got to eat another nacho, LT. Get another nacho in, man. Get another nacho.
Man. You guys got me all confused now because I hate analytics. I can't stand analytics. Yeah. What do you guys think of analytics? I think analytics kill more coaches. I got them right up there next to prevent defense.
Yeah,
you hate prevent defense. Gary.
Oh my God! Did you see what it did to Georgia Tech the other night against Georgia?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. Oh my goodness!
Oh my God! They're up by 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes left, and I've never seen worse prevent defense in my life. There was nobody covering anybody. They were just letting them catch the ball. Georgia went right down the field in 1 minute.
Yeah. And let me mention something else about that Georgia Tech game. Remember I was talking about ball control? Do you realize that when we played Georgia Tech, they had the ball for 35 minutes of the game? Because that's what they did to us. They held the ball, they ran the clock down because they knew the key to winning that game was to keep Cam on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. They said it too after the game. We're trying to keep the ball out of his hand as much as possible. And you saw what that did, put extra pressure on him. Miami went for 4th down, went 1 for 4 on 4th down. Just little things like that completely changed that game. And like I said, easy to coach from my couch, but I feel like going up 21, you turn into Georgia Tech's clone and just pound that rock for the rest of the game.
Exactly. That's kind of I'm sorry, man. That's kind of unforgivable to give up a 25.
Hey, can we talk about a happier feeling, Syii? What was your feeling when we was up 21-0?
I started calling people. See, my pops always call me when we get down, LT. I don't hear from him until we down. So
Right.
the minute we went up 21, I called him. I said, hey, man, I ain't hearing from you right now. What's up? He said, I don't see nothing wrong. That's why y'all good. Y'all rolling. I was like, I thought so. And as soon as I called them, as soon as I hung up the phone, they go right down. And I knew it was over. I was like, damn. You know what I mean? And then they got to stop, and they came back and scored again. But like I said, that's a lot of pressure on our offense, man, to have to know every time. You know, I think I heard Joe Burrow say that this week. He said, I have to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? And our offense had to be perfect. You know, and that's a lot of pressure. I mean, they're human. And the other team is at home, and, you know, they know that this is a big game for them. One thing I don't think our team recognized, see, this is different between when we played LT. We understood that every team was going to give us their best, right? So we had the talent, and we were always able to rise above. I don't think they ever realized that, man, every time y'all show up and that U is on your helmet, you're going to get the other team's best. You know what I'm saying? They're going to play like they probably never played all season when they see the U on their helmet. And I just don't think we
Super
always
Bowl.
rose to the challenge. Exactly. I don't think we always rose to the challenge, and I think that's why a lot of those games were were closer than they should have been.
Yeah, Fran Brown kind of said it after or before and after the game. I remember he's like, "This is our championship. You know, we're not playing for anything right now." And you know, like you mentioned, we see like jokes about it on Twitter when it's like, "Oh, whenever this quarterback plays Miami, he turns into Tom Brady." But you know, you see it. It's kind of true, in my opinion, from just watching, you know, all these, you know, press conferences and things like that from the other teams leading up to the game. You got every other kid saying, "Oh, I grew up a Miami fan, but I didn't get the scholarship," or this happened, and you know, I got this connection from Miami. Just every time the other team plays Miami, there's just a deeper storyline, and you're always going to get 150% from those guys, man, which is crazy to think, honestly.
Yeah.
So let me bring up another gloomy subject before we switch to happier things and let Syii basically tell us how he stays looking so young. Maybe it's, you know, shaving the head so you have no grays. He looks like he's 20 years old still, Lamar.
I wish.
But
Big Chief.
It's good to see you, LT. A couple of weeks ago, you was running though, but it's good to see you, man.
But before we let him lead us to the fountain of youth, the College Football Playoff Committee met and released their rankings, and another blow for the Hurricanes. You know, another disappointment, and they put a 3-loss Alabama team ahead of us in the ranking. And there it is, right there. What do you guys think about that one?
Crazy. Roll Tide, man. Somebody said since the start of the college football playoff, that's been the two most important words, Roll Tide. And hey, we saw it last year with Florida State in that situation, and then they make it again this year, man.
I don't know. What say you, LT?
God, that was so disappointing, dog. I felt I ain't gonna lie, dog. I felt like Novell felt last year, dog. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I literally was happy there was nobody around me, so because I said the F word so loud, you know, and man, that hurt, man. That really hurt. And then to hear the excuse where he was stuttering, it was a bunch of bullshit, and I mean, these funky ass stats that he's throwing out there. What about the real stats, homeboy?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Alabama got beat, bro. They got blown out by OU. I mean, literally ran out 3 points.
Yeah.
And yeah, it all goes back to, unfortunately for us, you had a chance. It was right there for you to make it right.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get it done. So,
couldn't get it done. That's true. At the end of the day, you know. But
I can't be mad at anybody.
You're right, and you're 100% right. And I'm not here to make excuses, but I do think I want to hit up 2 points. Mario made a really good point. We lost 2 games on the road by a total of 9 points. 2 games on the road, and those aren't bad teams. Those teams won. I think Georgia Tech won 7 games this year, and Syracuse won 8. And look what Georgia Tech did to Georgia. It took them to 8 overtimes on the road. You know what I mean? They went into Athens and took them to 8 overtimes. So us losing to Georgia Tech, I mean, we shouldn't have ever. I mean, obviously we shouldn't have lost. We're the better team, but I mean, they showed that they could play. And then, and then to go on the road and lose in the Carrier Dome, I mean, that's a tough place to play. I mean, that's not you know what I mean? And I'm not making excuses because we should have won the game, but I just think that our losses, even though we lost, I mean, I think those are, for me, more credible losses than losing to Oklahoma, who lost 6 games.
Because here's the thing.
Scoring 3 points.
Here's the thing, Syii. It's funny how some of the teams we played and we beat, the Duke, the Louisville, were not ranked.
Yeah.
And now they're ranked. It's just you kept them out of the top 10, so it's not a top 25. And it's not a credible win, but it's like Jimmy Johnson said before we went up to Notre Dame when I was a freshman. Don't put it in the hands of the officials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep it in your hands.
That's what we did. That's why you can't make those. That's why you can't cry right now, because you're right. We put it in the hands.
And we ain't suing nobody either.
No.
I ain't throwing no strays at nobody at Florida State, but we ain't trying to sue.
No.
Here's what it is, dog.
Yeah. No, we gotta own it. That's how you get better. You gotta own it, man.
Yep.
We can't be out here looking for favors.
If Texas beats Georgia on Saturday, you're going to have you would theoretically have 2 SEC teams with 3 losses in the 12-team playoff.
And Georgia will drop 1 slot.
It's unforgivable.
And
Georgia was lucky to beat Georgia Tech. They would be a 4-loss team if Georgia Tech doesn't blow that game.
I guarantee you, if they lost to Georgia Tech, they'd still be in the top 12. I guarantee.
Let me share this with you. Look at how the ACC matched up with the SEC. Cal went into Auburn, beat Auburn at Auburn. We beat Florida at Florida. Who was it? Louisville smacked Kentucky that went into Ole Miss and beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss. The same Kentucky that went into Ole Miss, Louisville smacked them around. I was kind of disappointed that Clemson didn't beat South Carolina, because that would have gave us a sweep over the SEC. Other than Georgia Tech going 8 overtimes with Georgia. So if you ask me, man, I think the conferences, I don't think there's a lot of daylight between the 2 conferences, if you ask me. I think on any given day, we could beat any of them teams. I'm sorry. I think if you put Miami out there with any of them teams, because I didn't see a superior team. Like you said, some of these teams got 2 and 3 losses. So, I mean, like I said, I think the ACC had a good season. I just don't think they ever got the credit. But I think when they matched up with the SEC, they showed that they could play with them.
All right, so now we're looking at a bowl game, probably in Orlando or Jacksonville. It should be a decent game. They'll pit us against a pretty good team. And what happens there? Like, does Cam Ward play? He's making noise that he is going to play. I said that's what I said to Lamar, but he's suggesting in the building that he is going to play in that bowl game, that he wants to finish what they started, that these are his brothers and they have a culture in place there, and this has been a special season, and he wants to finish what he started. I'm hearing he might play.
I tell you this, Garrett. I wouldn't be mad at him if he didn't, but I'd be happy if he did. But I also want to see Emory, because now I'm looking at the future. I want to see some of those young guys get their opportunity to see if they're worth keeping. So, I want to see Cam again throw it around the yard just a little bit, but I want to see Emory get in there, and we want to see what Emory can do. And I want to see some of those younger receivers get their due. I want to see the young guys. I want to see what they got, because we have to make decisions. Syii, this is the semi-pro league now, boy. Hey man, it's nut cutting time. If you ain't good, hey, we taking your money.
Exactly.
And you can go somewhere else. I mean, that's basically what it's come down to. And now with what is it, 105 now? How many scholarships now, Gary?
It's still 85. They haven't gone to 105, but they're gonna have a choice if they want to go to 105 pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you got to have the right people on your team, man. You can't just keep guys around and continue to pay them.
Yeah. You got to evaluate.
You're right. Think about this, Syii. there was a lot of money on Miami sideline that didn't play.
Damn.
A lot
Hard
of
to
money.
fathom.
Lot of money. And that means you're bringing in young kids who are not ready, but you have to compete. What I saw today, you have to give them the money because guess what? If you don't give them the money, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, damn.
That's crazy. But I'm like you, LT. I like to see Cam for maybe a half. Let him, go out there, throw, 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half. Now this is a game you can just throw the ball around. Who cares? You know what I mean? Pad the stats, go out a winner. But you're right, LT. We need to go ahead and get some of the backups and playing time because we need to know who we need to go after in the portal. We need to know where we weak.
Yep. I actually don't want to see him but a quarter.
There you go.
I need to see this squad. I need to see Emory, man. I'm yearning to see what this guy's about because everybody loves the backup quarterback.
Yep.
Until he gets in.
I think I would tell Cam, look, it's in your best interest not to play. Yeah. Let's do exactly what you're saying, Lamar. Let's see what Emory's got.
I think quarter, man.
If he went out there for the first series and drove us down the field and then took a ball, I like that.
There you go. I'm okay with that.
That'd be a storybook ending. Thank you so much, Mr. Ward. Now, I might even purchase a sign. Thank you, Cam, on the sign up there. Thank you, Cam. And then we got to see Emory, man. Now it's next year.
Yeah.
But it's.
I would give.
And I don't want our guys to give up. Like I don't think we will because of the mindset of our coach, our head coach, and that coaching staff. But I don't want us to go out there and pull a Florida State because we're so disappointed. I don't think that will happen to the University of Miami. So
they got to make
whoever gets us in the bowl game, we're gonna get some young, hungry kids that are gonna try to show their worth.
They got to make a decision next couple weeks about Emory.
Yeah.
Is Emory ready to be our starting quarterback and lead us to the ACC championship game? Going through 3 weeks of practice with him as the starter would be a great way to start doing that, and then putting him in that game prepared to be the starter and letting him audition so you can see where he's at would be a great way to do that too.
A great audition. Man.
Portal opens Tuesday.
It opens on Tuesday? God,
or December 9th. What's that, Monday or Tuesday?
So these kids are now saying they're jumping in the portal.
Well, there's already kids. Yes, there's kids already saying I'm going in the portal. It's Monday.
From Miami?
Reese Poppenbarger said today he's a graduate, so he can go in now. Yeah. He's already headed to the portal.
Yeah, Reese got his check.
There will be a whole bunch of them next Monday.
From Miami going into the portal.
100%. They're going to need to lose at least 10 kids to open up slots to bring in guys in the portal.
Yeah. Okay. And just so you know, Syii, some of them have to go have that hard exit meeting with the head coach or position coach, and they're being told, hey, it might be in your best interest to move along.
Yeah.
It's all cut dead weight, as Jay Cruz said. That's the business, man.
That's the business. That's the business.
So Kelvin Harris wouldn't have been able to stay around for 3 years being a bus starter, a steak eater, and a bus starter, taking up space, for guys that deserve, the pregame meal.
Yeah.
Guys like him would have been cut. And he probably could have gone to Bethune-Cookman. Or maybe a St. Thomas. Kevin Harris might have been a guy that could have gone to Florida Memorial and been a good player.
Hilarious. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Well, Syii, man, we definitely
page, man. Time to turn the page, LT, man. We got to look forward to 2025, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what this bowl game's gonna be about, turning the page. And I definitely appreciate you, Syii, for being a guy. So just so the viewers know, I put in our WhatsApp group that has How many players in there?
Over
Syii?
100.
Over 100. Because let me tell you something. During those games, this shit is popping. It's like a
It
club
is.
up in that thing. You know, it's like you open it up, it's like 800 text messages. But I put in the WhatsApp group, anybody wanted to come on tonight to voice their, whatever about the University of Miami. And I appreciate you, Syii, being,
Anytime, man. Anytime,
coming on. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, Big Chief.
Anytime,
From the
man.
bottom
Much
of my
respect,
heart,
bro.
man.
You know I got
And the next time I come out
respect for you.
to LA, I know I got a place, right?
Anytime, man. Come on with it, man. I'm right here.
Hey, before you leave, how do we stay looking so young?
Man, just try to exercise a little bit, get some rest, and eat well. I think eat diet is huge, though. You got to eat well, man. Diet. The diet is everything. The diet is everything. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, as I get some more nachos, I guess I'm getting old.
You can stand it, man. Remember?
No. Today, or was it yesterday? I was at my kid's speech, and I went to take my son to the bathroom, and the lady said, "Oh, yeah, you can go back there. Oh, son, follow your grandpa." I said, "Bitch." I sound like Too Short. Yeah.
You crazy.
Love you, man.
Good to
Love
see
you,
everybody, man. I'll catch y'all next time. Go Canes, man. Y'all
All right, man. Thanks for coming by.
Okay, anytime.
That was awesome. He does look good, doesn't he, man? Wow.
He look good, man.
Yeah. All right. So today was signing day. You want to talk a little bit about signing day and what you said you witnessed today, Lamar? I threw the picture up there really quick. That was our wide receiver signee, Joshua Moore, and he was so funny, and he's the nicest kid in the world. He's such a nice kid. I met him, and spoke to him for the first time today, but face to face, and he is the nicest kid in the world, and it's just so I've never seen anything quite like it. Like he pulls up for his signing ceremony.
Right.
In a Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He had a jewelry company sponsor that was there with a social media team that was filming him and shooting pictures of him. He had a gold suitcase. He was wearing the jewelry company's jewelry that they sell to a lot of the kids. He had the watch, the necklaces, and everything, and he was repping the jewelry company. The Lamborghini wasn't his; they rented it for the day, I think. Just for the photographs and stuff. But he had a whole team. He had agents there. I felt like I was watching Tyreek Hill show up at Dolphin Camp for the first time. It was unbelievable. And, you mentioned, what you observed and the money and the way people try to leverage and try to get, the whole world, Lamar, has changed in recruiting.
Gary, when I looked into those guys' eyes today, when I went over there, there's a lot of pressure on these coaches, man. Because, again, imagine having a kid that's been committed to you for a year or two. You built a relationship with him. You feel good about it. Obviously, you got to keep recruiting them. But then all of a sudden, at the last minute, they get a phone call from Dan Lennon. And Dan Lennon saying, "Hey, man, how much Miami paying you?" "Oh, yeah? Let's double that. Well, let's give it $200,000 more and put your mom and dad in the house." How you supposed to turn that shit down? Smart money. Smart kid. I wouldn't say smart kids. Kids, per se. You're about to tell me I'm about to make X amount of dollars, which is more than Miami has offered. And I don't care if it's going across the country. They ain't thinking about that. And, of course, it's the number one team in the country. Now, you get the headlines, you get all this other stuff, and Oregon has played it to the T. Ohio State has played it to the T. Miami's even played it to the T. Even Florida is paying it to the T because they got money, and they understand now, after seeing what that ass whooping we gave them, you got to spend money. Okay? So, you see one room where there's some guys in there don't look like coaches. They having discussions. And you see a guy come out of there and go into another room. I ain't talking about kids. We talking about adults. Go into another room. Then he goes into the bigger room. I mean, it is because understand something, guys. These schools are throwing out money to get these players, and these kids are not showing any loyalty, which, you know what? We've talked about this many times because coaches, they leave, they come and go. And these kids are, hey, man, these parents are like, hey, man, I know you gave such and such X amount of dollars. We deserve X amount of dollars too. And you have to tell them, hey, his worth is not that, and you hurt their feelings. And now they're going to go to another school and then get the deal and start talking shit about you, saying they got a lot of bad stuff down there. I mean, it's crazy, man. It is crazy. And what these kids don't understand, you just ruined yourself. Because if you go to that school and yeah, you're getting a bunch of money, somebody's the first day on campus, they slap the living dog shit out of you. Wow. You ain't got nowhere to go. You can't go back to Miami. You just talk shit about them. Where you going? I always tell kids, whether it was me, my sister, anybody, you call the coaches and you be respectful and say, I've made my decision. Thank you so much for this opportunity, but I am going to X. I'm not coming to your school. Would love to stay in contact with you. Who knows how this thing works out? But that's the correct way to handle it. And you know what? If you want to go do the hat thing, I'm okay with it because I already know the truth. I already know. And you can do whatever you want to do at that point. But when you and most of them don't have mature enough parents to say, son, do it the right way. And now, guess what? You're looked upon as a bad seed. Because if shit don't go your way, where you going? Because you already made an ass of yourself to this other school, to these other schools, you have no place to go. So it's I don't know.
I see.
Don't burn bridges. You're right, Nick. Don't burn bridges.
I see. You see this up close. You were in the middle of a situation today with Malachi Tony, where you were reporting on that story. And, you know, it's signing day. Malachi Tony is one of the top recruits in the class, wide receiver. And I see he's doing his job. He's reporting anyway. And, you know, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm not signing with Miami today. And they called his mom. We're not signing with Miami today. And, you know, there were a lot of different reasons. Some of them, you know, we won't talk about because we don't want to violate some confidences and stuff. But you know, then by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they'd worked it all out, and he did sign with Miami. But it's enormous pressure. It really is. I mean, you know, I've known some of the people in this football program for a very long time, and this modern day college football world has altered them as human beings. They are not the same people I knew 4 or 5 years ago. They are damaged, and they live every single minute of their lives under the most ridiculous pressure in the world. It has to be impacting their health. You know, it's just not healthy to have to work as hard and under the amount of pressure that these guys work under, not just 1 or 2 days a year. Like it's every freaking day, year round now, with the way recruiting is and everything. You know, your thoughts, I see.
Yeah, you hit it on the whatever the saying is. My brain's fried right now.
The nail on the head.
You hit the nail on the head because recruiting nowadays is so fluid. Like we're wrapping up the 2025 class, and next weekend you got to focus on these 2026 class. You're going to be behind in the cycle. And I kind of want to go to one of the questions somebody asked. Billy DeLulu said, "Is Mario's recruiting expertise, you know, neutralized because of NIL?" Absolutely not. I don't think that is the case at all, because at the end of the day, for these top level kids, you know, they're going to kind of get the same baseline. Obviously, some kids might command a little bit more money, but, you know, there's so much going on in recruiting right now and all this stuff that I feel like it's just so much, like LT was saying, like we mentioned, certain situations you could be locked in with the program, and then 30 minutes later, hey, we got $50,000, $100,000 more dollars for you, and then that completely changes everything. So I just think with this, day and age and NIL and all this good stuff, there's so much going on, so many moving pieces that are out of your control that you simply, can't handle. And what LT mentioned, I spoke with a coach from Ole Miss, and we're just kind of talking about a recruit, a few weeks ago when he was down watching guys. He said, listen, I want a guy to tell me straight up if you're coming to my school or not, because you're playing with my life. Like, you can play all these games, but just let me know that you're not coming to my school so I can move on and find another guy. And just hearing that from another coach from another school is kind of like, dang. So everybody goes through this. It's not just Miami kind of getting hoodwinked at the end of the cycle. Just it's a lot going on with recruiting right now. And obviously this is kind of still new to everybody. So everybody's still getting used to it. And like Gary mentioned, this is 24 hours, 365. Like 2025 is signed. Now you're on to 2026. There's no break. There's no hiccups. You're right there. So much going on in this recruiting. Glad this cycle's over, but looking forward to seeing, 2026.
Yeah. Gary, here's the thing too. It doesn't matter. Someone I watched on here and they were like, oh, we need, LT in the building or whatever. Man, let me tell you something. I was fortunate enough to recruit a player that turned out to be the greatest thing since sliced bread at the University of Louisville. It was because of my mouthpiece, my knowledge of the university where I was selling to him, the head coach, all that good stuff. I did my research on every opposing team that was recruiting him, and I found their deficiencies, and I went after them as hard as I could. I won the prize. But today, if I was recruiting Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter what the fuck I say. It does not matter, guys. It's about this.
And that's why I disagree. I disagree with IC. I think Mario, who is certainly one of the best head coach recruiters in the country, has been compromised by NIL because it is in so many cases with the best kids in the country, it's about how much money you're going to pay them. And yeah, he could smack down a big check on a table, say, I'm going to pay you X. And there have been times where he probably did that to get a couple of these guys they've gotten. It certainly took that to get Cam Ward. I think it took that to get Samson Okinola a couple years ago. But we're seeing contrast there. Cam Ward works out great. Samson hasn't worked out so great, and what Miami has found is they have had to find some fiscal responsibility in this game that they're playing, and they're much more controlled in how they're spending money in recruiting. And, they're not getting into bidding wars. They let a kid go the other day, Hilton Stubbs. He flipped to Florida. Florida offered him. The number I heard from some different sources was an extra $100,000.
And he came back to Miami, and Miami said, "Hey, you got to take it." And what does he do? He turns and flips the shit around and says, "Oh, Miami has these issues, and I wouldn't want to be a part of that." Well, you just screwed yourself, man.
Yeah,
you might not like it there, but you can't come back here. And I meant to tell Mario today, because me and Kelvin Harris talked about that. You got to set some examples on this shit. So if the Knicks kid goes to Oregon and doesn't like it, you can't come back here, dog.
Oh, they're already doing that.
Yeah, we got to set this shit straight. That no, you're not gonna get a chance to screw us twice. And I don't care.
Earl Little's kid went to Bama and wanted to leave Bama.
There you go.
They didn't recruit him. They let him go to Florida State. When Cormani McClain flamed out of Colorado, they didn't recruit him again.
The Antoine Jackson situation too.
Antoine Jackson's another one.
Hell yeah.
Sorry. You can't let your place be the place that you could just come back to whenever you want.
Now, wait. Unless it's a special guy like Jeremiah Smith.
He can come back, yeah.
Come on back, dog. He come on back right now, dog.
I would say
I might even throw $50 in the pot.
with Jeremiah Smith, I don't think there were zero antics, any of all that stuff at the end. He kept it smooth the whole time. So that talent and his mindset, come on back down south, buddy.
He handled his business like a pro, and you know what? That's why he's playing like a pro. Those are the kids. Right. Those are the kids that make it. The ones.
And I hope it's cold as hell out there. And he don't like. He don't like just running post corners against Michigan. So come on back, dog. Come on back. Beard waiting on you, baby. Beard is waiting on you. Come on. Come on. I got 50 for you. A hot 50. Let me see in my pocket right now. See if I got a hot 50. Come on back. See if I got $50 bill for that boy. See that boy. That's how the old man be talking. But I got that boy. Got that money for that boy. Let's see if I got 100. Oh, I got a little bit of money for him. I got some money for you. Come on back. That would be a game changer. But the rest of them clowns, no. No.
You know, and so many of these kids that play games, they never end up being anything. I mean, you know, it's amazing, but you know, the character is so important, so important. And but yeah, but it's interesting, man. And you're right. There's so much pressure on these coaches and staffers, and I don't know. I don't see it ending anytime soon. I see it only getting worse. You know, when you start seeing high school kids with agents, come on, man, like crazy.
And it is what it is, man. It's the day's age. I mean, just watching the you know, obviously they were able to get some players today, and they were excited. I mean, to watch those kids on the screen when the coaches are cheering and everybody's in there cheering on the big screen, and they're saying it's 7 o'clock in or 6 o'clock in or you know, wherever the hell they are, way across the country, and those guys are making the call. It was great. It reminded me of, you know, we didn't have all that, but you know, you fax that thing in and the relief is done. And you know, for me personally, in my recruiting, I told Florida, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, and Illinois I had come to my decision, and I was going to University of Miami. They knew it. I even went to school not with a Gator top on, not with, you know, I came to school with a Miami top on because I made my decision. It was no playing around. I didn't do the hat thing. I didn't care about it. And you know what? I saw a lot of those coaches throughout my career that recruited me. It was always respect. And they always came up to me and said I did it the right way. And they followed my career. And I wish somebody would talk to these kids, these parents because I hate to say this, these parents are more concerned about that money than doing it the right way.
Are they taking the kids' money, Lamar? Do you think the parents are taking the kids' money?
There's a bear shit in the woods.
That's what bothers me the most, man.
Goddamn right, they're taking that money.
I agree, and that to me that is just horrifying, man. Horrifying.
Look, when I lay it down with my ex-wife and my wife today, I did not say I'm trying to make a millionaire so I can get paid. No, I made my own, and you know what? If my kids make it, then good for them. You know what? I'm not putting them on the earth to take from them.
So when a kid gets $200,000 in NIL money, and that gets deposited in his bank account, you think a lot of these parents are taking some of it for themselves. It's amazing. But I mean, I agree with you. I agree. It's unbelievable to me. I can't relate to that. That's insane. What do you think, I see? You make it big as a football player. You're getting your NIL money. What do you think?
I mean, obviously, I'm giving to my parents, but you know, right. with the recruitment, if it's driven where you're just trying to take advantage of the kid and you know go to wherever you're gonna get the biggest check and things like that. Obviously, certain situations are different, and maybe you need that money. But if a recruitment's solely driven on, hey, where can I place my kid to get the most money? I just feel like at the end of the day, those situations never work out, and you see those kind of fizzle out in the end for sure.
They're in the transfer portal, the black hole right now.
It's amazing. All right, so speaking of the transfer portal, I wanted to cover one other topic tonight before we go, and then we'll
let IC go to sleep, man. I feel bad.
We'll let IC go to sleep, and then we'll come back later and talk, down the road and talk about a lot more stuff. But Jordan Roebuck very astutely points out that big-time quarterbacks are going to go in the portal, and Miami has to make a decision. And I alluded to it earlier. It would be great. It's in Cam Ward's best interest to not play in the bowl game. It really is. It's in the University of Miami's best interest for Emory Williams to quarterback the bowl game, to see where he's at. Give him 2 weeks to prepare for the game. See how he performs in the game. they have a very difficult decision to make right now, Lamar. You got 3 young quarterbacks in the program right now. You got Emory Williams, who played a couple games as a freshman. Now he redshirted this year. You got Judd Anderson, who has not played, at all, really. And then you got Luke Nickel coming in as a true freshman. That is way too young, way too inexperienced. The quarterback room, the most important position on the football team. They got to make a decision what to do here.
Yeah.
Starting next week when this portal opens up. How do they handle that?
Well, obviously you get to see, you start practicing Emory, you start putting feelers out there, you kind of see what's still out there, and you're watching Emory, and you're trying to hold these guys off for as long as you can until you really see what Emory can do. And if you think Emory is that guy, then you start planning accordingly, because you got to have a good quality backup too. You can't say the guy that's coming in, the Luke kid, is going to be a good quality backup, putting that pressure on him to have to learn to study, to have to learn, it's a lot. It's a lot. So you get a Poppensberger or whoever the hell he was. You get a guy like that who was successful on some level, and have a guy that's a backup, but you go with the guy, or if
they don't want to compete. Lamar Poppensberger already went into the portal. He don't want to compete with Emory.
Hey man, hey, look. See, that's today's kid, man. Nobody wants to compete. Everybody wants to go where they think they're gonna be a starter. And some guys are not meant to be starters until you mature. Tom Brady, was he a starter for 4 years at Michigan?
No, I don't think he was. You remember? I think he was a backup at first.
I don't think he came in as a highly recruited guy either.
Yeah, and it is what it is, man. These guys got to pay their dues, and they got to sit for a while to let the game slow down, because the game, they get in there, the game's going fast unless you got Rhett Lashley telling you exactly where to throw. That's TBD. I don't know. Yeah, I just hope that we're able to. I hope Emory is able to do it, and I hope we're able to get a good quality backup to go along with the young kid that comes in. That gives us 3 quality quarterbacks, and we go from there. The kid has the time to sit, learn, watch the game, get acclimated with college, and the next year he's able to compete for a position. I'm hoping that's the way it goes. In a perfect world, that would be LT's story.
Do you think Emory's ready to be the starting quarterback, Lamar?
I'm out at practice, and he makes a lot of great throws. We'll see. Hell, I hope he gets an opportunity in this bowl game. I really do, because what we saw in that Florida State game, it looked like he was on the road, and unfortunately for him, he got hurt, and he's come back, and we're going to get a chance. I hope to watch him play, and like I said, I would love for Cam to be able to take one more bow. Get us done one good touchdown drive, and then bow out gracefully, and let's watch and see what this kid has to offer. Give him a fair chance that he's to see what he can do.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, and we'll be talking more about this one as well. We will have more Lamar Thomas shows. We just don't know what the dates are right now. Yep. We got to see what happens here with the bowl game, the postseason. But we will have a show probably before the bowl game and maybe after the bowl game. We'll try to do a couple more this year for you guys. We thank you all for watching tonight, for being part of the show this entire season long. We got to thank Syii Tucker for joining us from the West Coast. Obviously, IC, and we will see.
All the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. We got to let IC go to sleep, man. It's past his bedtime. Boy, how you got a girlfriend, dog? You got to stay up late. You young, baby. You got to run the streets. The streets want you. The streets.
The sheets want me right now. The sheets.
Streets. The sheets over streets. I get you, baby. I get you. Thank you so much.
All right, I see you. All right, Lamar, thanks again, everybody, for watching, and we'll see what happens this weekend when they do the bowl selections, and we will see you guys next time. Have a great night, everybody.
Go Canes.